So today our topic is the field of possibilities. I'll meet you there. The September theme, so all month, has been spiritual mind treatment, the feeling. But this 5th week, the actual theme is loose the consciousness, as in set it free, set no limits, release all limits. So we're doing this today in 3 parts. I, of course, will begin with belief and faith. Then Michelle explores surrender, and Brittany will close us up with trust. So, each of us is going to teach a little bit, each of us is going to share some experiences, and then each of us is going to serve you ice cream. It's just part of what we do. The field of possibilities, I'll meet you there, is actually all about creating, co-creating really, the lives that we want, the life of our dreams. So we co-create with spirit, or creator, source, God, intelligence, whatever term you use there. But we also don't do this in isolation. We co-create with each other too. We interact with each other, we talk with each other, we see God in each other and in everything. So we co-create with each other also. How do we do that? Well, we create the life of our dreams by having a mental equivalent. That's that subjective idea of the experience that we want. So that desired experience. But it's hard sometimes to go beyond what our current experiences are and think about something that we've not experienced before. So that's where the idea comes in here of blue sky thinking. Now, blue sky thinking is creative ideas that are not limited by our current beliefs or even by any limiting factors that we might have in our lives. So, as a spiritual practice, this blue sky thinking stretches our boundaries. It thinks a different thought. It transforms our own minds. And it sets our minds to the belief system of science of mind that all things are potentially possible. So, in this world, we don't have to change the world to get what we want in life, to have our dreams come true. We just need to raise our consciousness. And that starts with belief and faith. So, of course, I go back to Ernie, my buddy Ernie, in the Science of Mind glossary. He says, belief is the conviction or feeling of the truth of a proposition or condition. Belief can go no further than the intellectual assent. Belief admits of all degrees, from the slightest suspicion to the fullest assurance. Now, this is where I see a difference in my beliefs. I kind of believe in ghosts and reincarnation, but I sure the heck wouldn't want to stake my life on those. Kind of believe. But there are things that I wholeheartedly believe in. Things like abundance and goodness and peace and love and harmony and perfect and divine right order. And I could go on and on and on. Those things I do truly stake my life on. Now, I can go beyond belief, and I can start talking about faith. Faith goes beyond this intellectual assent and embodies a trust and confidence. Again, in the Science of Mind glossary, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is a mental attitude so inwardly embodied that the mind can no longer deny it. Faith is complete when it is both a conscious and subjective acceptance. In spiritual terminology, faith means a belief in the principle, an invisible principle, and the law, which actively and specifically responds to us. So by combining faith and belief, that allows me, I am allowed to take my blue sky thinking and turn it into my actual life, turn it into the world of my dreams. I believe in goodness, I believe in perfect divine right order, and I have faith in the principle and the law that takes my thoughts and ideas, my feelings, my desires, takes all of this and creates, manifests what it is I want. So I'd like to share a couple of examples. And I do have my phone here telling me how long I've been talking, and I'm getting close to the end, so I'll hurry. I can consciously, very purposefully do spiritual mind treatment to bring about the things that I want to create in my life. And I've done that many, many times. I do that probably daily, one way or another, and I attempt to notice when those things actually manifest in my life. A couple of things, though, that I can tell you. I was having a knee replacement, and of course, going into that knee replacement, my thoughts were of perfect divine hands of God during the surgery, and ease and grace in a quick recovery. And the surgery went fine. This was 10 years ago. And when I woke up and I was doing well and I left the hospital a day earlier than they ever let you leave the hospital, I used a walker for 2 days instead of 3 weeks. I used a cane for 2 days instead of 3 weeks. And today, 10 years later, I stand here pain-free. That I created, co-created with spirit and friends and loved ones, but out of belief and out of faith. Another one, very quickly, I lost my glasses, which is never a good thing. And I've been looking for days and days, and finally thought, this is silly, sit down and pray. And I did, and I sat down and prayed that in this universe, nothing is lost. And it came to me as I finished up my prayer that when I leaned over the couch a few days ago, my glasses could have fallen off of my shirt, down behind the couch, behind where I could see, and went over and picked them right up and put them on. So I know things happen when I pray, when you pray. But you don't have to purposefully pray. You don't have to even be aware of what your beliefs are sometimes. 2 very quick stories. The first one is 35 years ago. So this is before I had ever heard of science of mind or spiritual mind treatment. And I had been seeing a doctor because my vision was doing wonky, funky things. And they ended up beginning a series of 20 laser treatments. 1,000 zaps per eye per treatment. It was some pretty intense stuff. So at the beginning, the doctor said, you have a 50-50 chance of keeping any vision at all. The other 50-50 chance, of course, is that you'll be totally blind. So, of course, you look at that, that's 1 in 2, right? And my comment at the time was, I feel bad for the other guy, because I knew that I would keep my vision. It's not great vision, but I stand here in front of you reading my 20 font and able to kind of see you. So I have my vision. The other one is a similar kind of thing. It was at a doctor's office, and Dennis and I, after 9 years of marriage, decided we wanted to start a family. And I was told when I wanted to do that, that my vision would probably leave me totally with a high-risk pregnancy. But that would be the straw that broke the camel's back. No more sight, no more vision. It seemed really stupid to me that I want to have a baby that I couldn't see. So truly, my instant response was, it's okay, we'll adopt. I mean, truly, no worry, no harassing, no nothing, just, okay, we'll adopt. And our 2 babies are now 31 and 30, oh, that's right, 34, and have my grandchildren. So I stand on my belief, I stand on my faith, and that allows me to continue to create an awesome world of my dreams. And Michelle, you take it from there.
So I actually asked for this topic when they told me what my choices were. I said, oh, let me do surrender. And without notes, because let me tell you, this year has been a journey of surrendering for me and learning more and more about surrender. And it started actually a year ago when this tree fell through our porch thanks to Irma, right where I sit every morning and have my cup of coffee. And this tree also broke right in front of the screen, and this knot was staring at me, and it looked to me like a dragon. And I mean, I was shocked. Probably a lot of you have seen the pictures, right? I'm like, doesn't it look like a dragon? I was like, because it seemed menacing to me. I mean, it was a scary event too. I mean, our porch ceiling caved in, but I just couldn't get off the idea that this was like a dragon, and I wanted to, like, the tree trimmers came, and I'm like, can you cut off that knot right there? I wanted to sort of memorialize the dragon somehow. Of course, the tree trimmer said, I want some of what she's smoking. Nevertheless, it kind of like, it shook me. I couldn't get away from this idea. I felt like the universe had just sort of swooped into my space and was in my face. And the message I felt like was, keep up, it's like you have stuff to do. I don't get to sit and be complacent and comfortable and have my coffee, and it felt more like to whom much has been given, much is expected. I just kept feeling this message like I needed to get on with it. There was stuff I needed to do. So I took it seriously because it felt serious to me. And I sort of intensified all my spiritual practices, and I remained faithful to them. But the other thing is, this itching, some of you know that I've had for a year. It started the day after Irma, the day after the tree fell. And so I really did dig in with my spiritual practices, and I started doing more writing, doing more music, getting out more, making connections. And the more I did, the more I wanted to do. And it felt good. I'm trying to think of my notes. Okay, so one of my spiritual practices was journaling. And this technique that a professor taught me was to journal. It was cross-cultural shamanism, but anyway, to journal and ask questions of what he called your objective other, your inner knowing, your higher self, but to pose questions to it. So I started doing this as part of my morning pages that I was doing religiously. I started asking questions of my objective other about this itching, and I started getting these messages that were like, you're always seeking affirmation. Basically my objective other was telling me I was neurotic. I was like, why did I need so much affirmation? Why did I need so much acknowledgement? I was always second guessing myself. And I realized that was true. And I felt like still this presence was saying was sort of forcing me past my fears and forcing me past my worries and my doubts and my second guessing myself that had really become rather chronic. And I realized that I didn't itch when I was doing those good things that kind of feed me, the things that my soul wants me to do. When I was writing, when I was playing music, when I was doing those sorts of things, I wasn't itching. But then it started feeling like this itching became a real taskmaster, because all of a sudden, for a while, I couldn't kick back and Netflix binge or, without itching. And so I wrote to my objective other, and I had to go back and read it. And I said, what is this? Is the universe going to bully me into doing everything I should do? It's like if I'm not always on track and being been my best self? Am I gonna be itching, forever? You know what my objective other said back to me?
Yes.
It said, is that the way you're setting it up? Oh. Well, our practitioners are going, because, my objective other's talking to me about mental equivalence, basically. If I'm putting that thought out there, it's like, I'm kind of bullying myself, right? I think, okay, you have to force me into being the best version of myself. I really realize that it's me, I'm bullying myself. And I also kind of realized that I'm being bullied. I'm on both sides of it, right? So I guess like the lesson was just that, but recognizing that there is nothing to fear. The universe kept showing up for me in incredible ways. Things kept turning out better than I could have expected. And one door just kept leading to another. And this affirmation that I've said all my life about the universe supports my highest good, it was playing out in spite of me and in spite of my self-doubts and second-guessing. And I need this book. I kind of finally got it. And I realized that I'm the only thing in the way. I'm stopping myself and second-guessing, doubt and worries. And that's what I had to release. And that was my surrendering. And so I've been working a lot on releasing all of those doubts and surrendering. And this woman helped me a lot. This Connie Caplan, I saw her on Gaia TV. And she talked about this particular quality. It's called the invisible garment. The 30 spiritual principles that weave the fabric of human life. So we all have some of these qualities. And when I heard her talk about this one, I thought I have to get this book. Sure enough, I have this quality, very majorly aspected in my life, and I'll just read to you a bit about it. It says, to be humble is to be authentically aware of the true nucleus of the essential self. It is arrogant to think yourself grander than you are. It is equally arrogant to think yourself less than you are. You are nothing less than the perfect child of God. No one has ever come to form to do what you have come to do. The nucleus self has held a pattern that has waited throughout all the history of the universe for the time to be right for you to be born, to bring the gifts to form that are unique to your highest self. It is the authentic knowing of that self that allows you to live in humility. That humility evokes your godlike beingness. So, I don't know if this has been very congruent, but to me, surrender has been about surrendering into my own authenticity, awakening to my own authentic being, surrendering to my own sacredness, and releasing as much doubt and uncertainty as I am capable of. And when I finally got it, my itching stopped just about a week ago. And I haven't been on medication for for a week of this entire year, the last week. And Monday, another tree fell in our backyard. Huge tree fell in our backyard. But this time, it wasn't menacing at all. This time, it was actually miraculous. It broke around, I swear to you, every piece of patio furniture, umbrella, hammock, little chimney thing, it broke around everything. And I feel like now that as long as I'm surrendering, the universe is breaking in my favor.
For those I have not met, my name is Brittany. And this morning, I am going to talk about trust and how it weaves into prayer and the outpicturing of our lives. I'm going to touch on the infinite possibilities that is available to each of us at all times. So for me, I like to think about our feelings as the fertilizer in the creative process. We live in a feeling universe. Our thoughts, desires, affirmations are vital. but in truth, it's how we feel underneath our thoughts, underneath our internal dialogue that determines our experience. For example, if I affirm that I'm whole, but I feel broken, and I wonder how or if it's even possible to be whole, then my experience is a lack of wholeness. The universe conspires for your good. It is so interesting to me how Spirit wove the three of us together without having read what each other was saying. So I'll say the sentence again. The universe conspires for your good. How do you feel when I say that? Does that sit in your body as truth? Inside, are you screaming? No, it doesn't. I remember way back in a galaxy far, far away to my first foundations class. Reverend David Alexander said to the class, "We live in a friendly universe and it conspires for your good." There was no part of me that believed that at the time. I desperately wanted that to actually be true, but my personal experiences did not match that. They didn't feel friendly, and they certainly didn't feel for my good. But if I'm honest, I didn't expect the world to be a safe place. I didn't expect the world to be an abundant place or a joyful place. You can insert your thing here, a healthy place, a peaceful place, an inspired place. And because God's answer is always yes, I received exactly what I expected, an unsafe, unhappy experience, and with some lack thrown in there. Oh boy. The creative process works, the law works, and yay, we are at choice. So if we don't like what we're experiencing, we can make a different choice. Ernest Holmes says in The Science of Mind, here and now, we are surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. How much of this infinite good is ours? All of it. And how much of it may we have to use? As much of it as we can embody. And then he goes on to say, we set our own limitations. There is then no limitation outside of our own ignorance, and since we can all conceive of a greater good than we've experienced so far, we all have the ability to transcend previous experiences and rise triumphant about them. But we shall never triumph over them while we persist in going through our old mental reactions. So when my old mental reactions come to the surface, I can get upset that they're up again, or I can bless them for the information that they provide. My triggers are a gift. My frustrations are a gift. My anger is a gift, because each one propels me into action if I choose to act, and that can bring a new perspective and a new experience. Well, then what is trust? Webster's dictionary defines trust as an assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something. And then it goes on to say that to trust is to expect confidently. What do you expect confidently in your life? As I was doing research for today, I came across a beautiful blog post by Reverend Simon Shadowlight. He's a minister and director of online ministry at Mile High Church. The blog post is titled The Altar of Trust. And in it he says, faith becomes trust when we put spiritual principles into practice and heed the results. And then he goes on to quote Ernest Holmes from The Science of Mind. What the world needs is spiritual conviction followed by spiritual experience. I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than to have him or her repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered, because it is far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. So I believe that we are the scientists in the laboratory of our life. We have the amazing privilege of testing our beliefs, of testing our truth, of testing the spiritual principles that we teach every week. We can become a scientist and we can document our results. Reverend Simon later in the same post said, "I trust that when I set an intention and follow the principles I've been taught, that I will experience positive results. And time again, my belief has been validated. The benefit of this trust is that when I find myself in challenging times, I trust that the way will be made known and it will work out well. And I've accumulated enough evidence and experience to support this trust." Do you confidently expect what you're affirming in your life? Are you doing what's yours to do? Or are you worrying about the how? It's our job to figure out what it is that we want, and it's God's job to figure out the how. So if you're worrying about the how, not only are you blocking your good and limiting your field of possibilities, and I'm not saying that if you pray or ask or affirm that that's it. There's always work to be done, and there's a common saying, treat and move your feet. But what I am saying is that at the end of the day, if you're worrying about the how, then you're not sitting in a place of confident expectation. God is limitless. The field of possibilities is infinite. Do you trust God? Do you trust yourself? Do you feel that you deserve what it is that you're asking for? You don't have to answer out loud, but I invite you to dig deep. Take the questions into meditation. Go out into nature. Sing a song, dance. Maybe your answers come in the shower. But wherever Spirit speaks to you, go there and listen. A really good friend, practitioner Christine Reddy, wrote the following reflection on Facebook a couple days ago, and I asked her if I could use it. "I have been blessed by the power of my mind and the principles of my faith. What was once a dark hole lined with constricting perceptions has now been made an illuminated path, which has propelled me to rise above. When I forget this truth, I can sit and remember once again that the story of my life really is the path to my enlightenment. Each layer is laced with love and gratitude and the lessons of my evolution. I breathe into this new paradigm of my life and allow it to inspire me." I'd like to close with a section of a poem by Rumi, and it's where today's talk title came from. The poem is called "A Great Wagon." Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. Thank you.